family comes first. That sometimes, like now that we all have our own families and kids, she tries to include everybody, and it doesn't always work. But you can tell that there is a very earnest effort to make sure that everybody is included, because it is so important for her that siblings and cousins, aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews all spend time with each other and have a good relationship with each other.
And also really, just take care of your family. Be there for them. Not just in terms of, financially providing what family needs, but also, when they want to talk to you, when they're excited about something, you should be excited about it. When they care about something, you should care about it. So just that lesson of being there for your family is an important lesson.
I would say most is just by example, but prioritizing family and prioritizing the gospel and finding the good in the everyday, trying to look on the bright side of things, trying to make sure that all of your kids feel super loved, because I saw that and in both my parents, trying to make sure that we just all knew how much they loved us.
Hard work, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I appreciate now how unique it is to have a true work ethic. So many people just don't have that, and I think it's because they didn't have the advantages I had as a kid with two parents that taught me to work hard. Mom and Dad both contributed to that. Mom was always working hard, and whether she was at her job or at home, and she didn't let us slack off either. We had to work, and she encouraged me to work during the summer. We always had chores. She'll admit that she gave me by far the lion's share of the chores, and that's why I have the better work ethic when compared to my siblings. That's just the way it worked out.
How important it is to prioritize what's important in your life, but to stand up for what you believe in as well. When she was on the planning commission, they would talk about how she got outvoted on stuff all the time. Like it would be a group vote, just like a city council meeting, but she would have, her as the one vote of dissension or approval versus everybody else not doing it, which speaks to the content of her character, I think, because she's not one to be antagonistic or spiteful, So if she was doing that, she was voting her conscience and critically thinking about stuff.
I really like how she has always been involved in the community. She had less time for that when we were younger kids, but as we got older, we became more teenagers, more self-sufficient. She started to become more involved. She wanted Dad to become neighborhood chair. She was on Provost Planning Commission. I don't recall her ever running for elected office, but she's been always very much involved, and she knows people who are. And many people go to her for her opinion on topics and candidates and so on. So that's just been a really important lesson and just something I've really respected about her.
One of them is just to be kind and loving and caring. And because Mom certainly is that, she always looks out for other people's needs and in most cases puts those above her own. And she really looks for opportunities to try to include people, to try to make people feel comfortable and involved. She just tries to do good to all of those around her. And I take that as a really good example of Christ-like love and just opportunity to try to be, to be a light in the world.
I remember Sister Steele that me and Dad used to home teach. She would always be very complimentary of Mom to me and Dad about how anytime she would speak in Relief Society or Sunday school, she would always like to hear what Mom had to say, because Mom would always be very well spoken. She'd think critically about what it is that she wanted to say, and she would be well put together and seem smart and intelligent with her comments because she put the effort in to contribute positively to the discussion.
She's always willing to give up anything in order to make our lives better, and that extended to everyone else in her life too. She made sacrifices for us kids, she made sacrifices for her husband, she made sacrifices for her friends and the people she worked with. So I learned to be a little more selfless and to sacrifice my wants and needs in order to serve other people.
The people she interacted with, certainly our family, but not just us, beyond our family, and in friends that she met through political activities, friends she met through church service, all these people she influenced for good, and through her sacrifice. And so it's a great example to me, and it's a good lesson of, I can't just focus in on what I want and what I want to do, but focusing on giving and loving and serving is a tremendous blessing.
Making sure that everybody feels included in social situations is a very simple one that I think almost to a degree, her and Ariel can almost take it too far, where I'll almost get annoyed and I'm like, it's fine. Like, we don't need to make an effort here to try to make somebody feel included, where I almost will embarrass them and single them out to give them that much attention when they just want to blend in with the group. But, it's an important priority for her, and we see it manifest by all the efforts that she puts in with us and with all of the grandchildren and everybody that she interacts with.
Mom is still, but growing up was always a very patient listener. Because I'm the only girl with no sisters, I think I especially appreciated that I could always confide in her if I needed to or wanted to. And she never made me self-conscious about any of the things I was insecure about. Even when I went through some of the rough patches of growing up and hormones were crazy and I didn't know what was going on, she was just non-judgmental and steady and loving.
Another lesson that she taught me came when Sarah and I, who were living in Connecticut at the time, it was before we had any kids, we used all of our vacation to come and visit family in Utah. And so one Christmas we came down and we arrived at the house in Provo and noticed that Mom and Dad weren't there. The kids, the siblings were all there, like enjoying their presents and whatnot. And we saw this big pile of presents there, and it's for Ike and Sarah was on the presents, and so we got excited and we're like, oh, let's dig into these. And so we tore into those presents, we opened all of them, and we're pretty happy with what we got. But didn't stop to think and realize that was important to her. That, one of the main reasons, I'm guessing, why she likes getting presents for people is to see their reaction as she opens, or as they open them up, the kids or grandkids, whoever it is. So she got home and she looked at the opened pile of presents now and said, oh, have you guys already opened these? And that's when it clicked. Oh, we were stupid. We should have waited for her to come because, she wanted to see our reactions. But, she showed a lot of patience. Patience is the right word. Where she just said, you know what? It's okay. Life is too short. And that phrase really stuck with me. That, things happen that you don't anticipate. And sometimes things happen that you don't like. But life is really too short to stress over it, to get angry and frustrated and let it, impact you.
She taught me that one person can make a difference. In her church callings, in the political sphere, and just being a mom, she's made a big difference. She's had an impact everywhere that she's been. One person can make a difference. One person just doing the right things and being awesome can make a big difference. So, I really appreciate that. And I'm very proud of her.
A bigger one was obviously the huge, awful Steve Turley thing, which was, so many awful things that went along with it, but a lot of positives too. Very few people would have put in all the effort and legwork required to put together, that huge binder of information, which had dozens of accounts from people. and testimonies, but also legal documents, evidence for all sorts of things, where they took that to the county attorney's office and then slapped it on his desk and was like, hey, here you go, here's all the information, so that he was able to, properly try to prosecute him, to provide some, justice for all the people that were negatively affected, where they lost all sorts of property and their livelihoods. And very, very few people would have actually seen that, saw the need, and actually filled it and put in all those hours and hours and hours of time necessary to try to, bring some justice and do good.
Mom would take me individually to, I think it was called Strut Your Mutt, I think is what it was. It was like an animal adoption type charity or something along those lines. Because she knew I loved dogs. That was another way that me and her bonded. And I was one of the driving forces in getting us a dog when I was in 5th grade, when Dandy came to join the family. I was probably in her ear the most about that. But as a result of that, she would take me to these charity events and where we'd volunteer. And so I would do whatever. I would clean cages, or maybe I'd get a hold or walk some of the dogs around. We would spend most of the day together doing that. And it was I really enjoyed it. The individual time with Mom, but also doing some good, doing a little bit of good. And Mom is such a wonderful example of doing good and doing good to the people and the things that she can touch. And I really appreciate that lesson learned from her.
I remember after my first kiss, when I was 17, and it was junior prom, I kissed the boy on my doorstep, and then I went inside and I took off this pretty dress, and then I just cried for an hour and talked with Mom for an hour, because I had realized the relationship had turned into something more serious than I wanted, and just teenage angst. But Mom was so loving and just patient. She didn't laugh at me, which she could have. What was I doing? But she just loved me through it, and was just kind and reasonable, and helped calm me down and feel like it was going to be fine. And it was fine.
I really like how important it is to not get too caught up in yourself. I guess I'm one that I always want to plan. I always want to have goals, and I always want to be thinking in those terms. And it's good to have goals and to be driven and so on, but you've got to allow time for talking to people, for noticing people. And I would say that has affected me today, where, when I'm, for instance, like walking the dogs, I'm more inclined to just keep going, and, there's a neighbor in that house. I have no idea who they are. Well, I'll never know, and I'll just keep. But when I actually try and think to myself, I'm like, no, I need to actually try to talk to people. And so I'll try to get to know people a little bit more, just remembering kind of Mom's example.